What if one act of bravery could drag you into a nightmare you never imagined? A poor boy saves a wealthy woman from a burning car, but what rises from beneath the ground is not just fire. It knows his name. It wants him, and it will not let go. Stay with me, because this story will chill you until the very end. The boy's breath turned white in the icy air. His jacket was thin, worn at the elbows, and the cold bit through the fabric like teeth. He pressed his hands together, feeling the sting of cracked skin, raw from the wind. The city around him roared with noise, car horns, the hiss of buses, footsteps rushing past. Yet he stood still at the edge of a street, staring. A black car had skidded across the wet pavement. Its wheels screeched, the sound piercing his ears like metal tearing apart. The vehicle struck the curb and stopped, smoke curling from beneath the hood. Inside, a woman was frozen. Her face pale, eyes wide, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles looked like marble. The boy could taste iron in the air, that sharp scent of burning rubber mixed with oil. People walked faster, heads turned briefly, then forward again, unwilling to stop. He felt the pounding in his chest, a drumbeat louder than the city. The door of the car remained shut. The woman did not move. The boy stepped forward, his shoes slapping against the wet concrete, splashing dirty water onto his legs. The closer he came, the more he smelled it, smoke, bitter and thick, wrapping around his throat. He coughed, but pressed on, pushing his hands against the handle. It was hot. He pulled harder, skin stinging, the metal branding his palm. The woman's eyes met his. They were filled with something deeper than fear, something close to disbelief. The lock gave way with a sharp click. A rush of heated air burst out, choking him. The woman gasped, her perfume mixing strangely with the burning fumes. She whispered, though her voice shook like glass about to break. And in that instant, as he leaned in, the world around him seemed to tilt. Her whisper barely reached his ears. A single word, stretched with terror. Please. The boy's pulse hammered harder, echoing inside his head like a drum in a cave. He reached in, the seat leather slick beneath his hands, still warm from the fire beneath the hood. The air was heavy, choking, and every breath scratched his throat raw. Her hair brushed against his arm as he pulled, strands clinging to his skin with static and sweat. The woman trembled, her diamond bracelet catching the faint light, glittering as if mocking the darkness pressing in. The city outside kept moving, shadows darting past, none of them slowing. The boy yanked with all his strength, his muscles burning, his chest tight. At last, her body shifted, her perfume drowning out the bitter smoke for a fleeting second. Then it came. A shudder. From the engine. A low growl, metallic and alive, vibrating through the ground beneath his knees. The hood rattled violently, a sound like chains clashing in the dark. His throat tightened as he realized the heat was rising, spreading, licking at the edges of the seats. Her nails dug into his arm, desperate, sharp as knives against his skin. He tried to pull again, harder, but the seatbelt snapped tight, holding her in place like a trap. Her eyes widened, panic spilling into his own. And for a heartbeat, he felt it too, that something in this car did not want to let her go. The belt cut across her chest like iron unyielding. The buckle would not release. His fingers slipped, slick with sweat, fumbling at the metal. The growl under the hood deepened, turning into a roar that vibrated through his bones. Smoke poured thicker now, curling around their faces, searing his lungs. He coughed so hard his ribs ached, but his hands did not stop. The woman's lips moved, forming silent words he could not understand. Her eyes pleaded, wet with terror, lashes stuck together by tears and heat. His skin prickled. Something unseen pressed against him, heavy, like a hand forcing him back from the door. The hair on his neck rose. Every instinct screamed to run, to leave her, to save himself. But he stayed. His chest throbbed with every beat, heart colliding against his ribs like a trapped bird. He grabbed the belt again, yanking, twisting, fighting against the restraint. The buckle gave a sudden snap, sharp and violent, slicing the skin of his hand. Blood welled up, stinging, dripping onto the seat. The woman gasped as the strap loosened. Her body slumped forward into his arms, her weight startling him. And then, a sound tore from the car. Not the roar of fire, not the screech of metal, but something deeper. A low moan, human yet not, rising from beneath the floor. The boy froze, his grip on her trembling. The woman's eyes darted downward, wide and horrified. She whispered again, voice shaking, almost broken. "It is not only the fire." The boy's breath hitched, sharp and shallow. The sound beneath the car grew louder, curling through the metal like a voice trapped inside. The floor trembled beneath his knees. He felt the vibration rise through his arms as he held her. Her nails dug deeper into his sleeve, anchoring herself to him as if she feared being pulled down. The smoke throbbed with the same rhythm as the sound, a pulse that seemed alive. His vision blurred, stung by tears and ash, but he saw her lips move again. This time, a single sentence left her mouth, brittle and raw. "It wants me." The boy's stomach twisted, a coldness crawling through him despite the burning air. The shadows inside the car thickened, stretching along the dashboard, crawling up the windows. For an instant, the firelight outside flickered and died, as though the city had turned away. He heard whispers in the smoke, broken syllables that scraped like claws against glass. His grip tightened on her shoulders. The woman's breath came fast, jagged, her chest rising and falling against his arm. The moan rose higher, breaking into a scream that did not belong to either of them. The boy flinched, ears ringing, heart hammering. And in that scream, he heard it, a name. His own, his name echoed inside the car, stretched and twisted, as if spoken through water. The boy's heart slammed so hard, he thought it might burst. No one here should have known his name. The woman's head jerked toward him, her eyes wide, reflecting the sickly orange glow of the fire. "You heard it too," she whispered, her voice trembling like broken glass. The smoke coiled tighter, wrapping around their legs, slithering up their skin like something alive. He tried to drag her out, muscles screaming with effort, but her body felt heavier now, as if the shadows themselves weighed her down. The ground beneath the car shuddered, sending a vibration through his bones. Again, the voice came, his name, louder, sharper, close enough to feel hot against his ear. He spun his head, but there was nothing. Only blackness pressing against the edges of the shattered window. The woman clutched his arm, her bracelet cutting into his skin. "Do not answer it," she hissed. Her words chilled him more than the voice itself. The sound returned, longer this time, dragging out every syllable of his name until it no longer sounded human. The boy's throat tightened, his lips parted before he even realized. And then, from deep below the car, a pale hand pressed against the floorboard, pushing upward. The metal bent, groaning, as fingers clawed through. The boy's blood turned to ice. The woman screamed, raw and piercing, her voice swallowed instantly by the smoke. The hand pushed harder, nails screeching against steel, reaching for them. The boy staggered back, dragging the woman with him. The floor split with a sharp crack, metal peeling like paper. The hand forced its way higher, pale skin glistening with something dark, veins black and twisting beneath the surface. Each finger bent wrong, as if broken many times, yet still clawed upward with violent hunger. The sound it made was unbearable, a grinding shriek that pierced through his skull. The woman clung to him, her nails biting deeper, her breath hot and fast against his shoulder. Her eyes locked on the thing rising beneath them, pupils wide with terror. The boy's lungs burned, every breath tearing like fire, yet he could not look away. The hand curled into a fist, and the voice spoke again. Not from below, from inside his head. His name, repeated, over and over, growing louder, drowning out the roar of fire, drowning out the city itself. He pressed his palms to his ears, but it made no difference. The sound was inside him, vibrating through his bones. The woman shook him violently, her lips forming words he could barely hear through the storm in his mind. "Fight it." Her shout barely reached him, but her desperation cut through the noise. The hand clawed higher, its wrist now breaking through the floor, tendons stretched like ropes slick with oil. The air grew colder, the fire dimming, shadows thickening as if the night itself bent closer. And then, the voice inside him changed. It was no longer calling. It was commanding. Bring her. The command slammed into him like a hammer. His knees buckled, his arms shook, and for a terrifying moment, he nearly let her go. The woman's scream pierced through the haze, her fingers digging into his wrist, grounding him. Her eyes were wild, her voice raw. Do not listen. The shadows surged, twisting around the torn floor, writhing like serpents, reaching for her ankles. The boy lunged, pulling her higher into his chest, the heat of her body clashing with the icy grip of the darkness. The pale hand thrust upward again, its nails scraping sparks against the torn steel, clawing for her. The voice thundered inside him, filling every corner of his skull. Bring her. Blood roared in his ears, his vision swam, and his grip faltered. For an instant, he felt the strange pull to obey, as though invisible threads were coiling around his arms, forcing them to move. The woman's bracelet cut deeper into his skin, sharp and biting, pulling him back into his own body. Her face hovered inches from his, eyes burning with fear and something else, pleading, begging him not to surrender. The car groaned, its frame twisting, windows shattering outward as if the entire vehicle had become a living thing. Flames licked the edges of the smoke, bending strangely, as though drawn inward instead of out. The shadows tightened, the hand clawing closer, its fingertips brushing the hem of her dress. The boy roared, a sound torn from somewhere deep inside, raw and primal. He pulled with every ounce of strength, dragging her free of the seat, ripping her from the clutch of the dark. For a moment, it felt like the car itself screamed. The voice shattered into silence. And then, the ground beneath them split open, the pavement cracked with a deafening snap. Chunks of asphalt split apart, glowing veins of red light bleeding through the gaps. The boy's stomach dropped as the ground shook beneath his feet, tilting, threatening to swallow them both. The woman clung tighter, her cries breaking into ragged gasps. Heat surged upward, a blast of scorched air that smelled of sulfur and ash. The black car groaned as though alive, sliding into the widening fissure, metal shrieking against stone. From the depths below, more hands emerged. Dozens. Pale, twisted, clawing at the broken earth, writhing like insects in a nest disturbed. Each hand reached for them, stretching impossibly far, fingers curling, scraping. The boy staggered backward, dragging her, shoes slipping on the trembling ground. The fissure widened, swallowing streetlights, shards of glass, the twisted skeleton of the car. The roar from below grew deafening, a storm of voices rising together, calling his name in unison. Every syllable stabbed through him like knives, each one pulling at the edges of his will. He bit down hard, tasting blood, forcing his legs to move. The woman stumbled, nearly falling, but he held her upright, arms burning with strain. Behind them, the street buckled, chunks of stone collapsing into the glowing chasm. A hand larger than the rest surged upward, monstrous, its nails long as blades, dripping black ichor. It struck the pavement, splitting stone like glass, dragging the rest of its body toward the surface. The boy's breath caught in his throat. This was no longer just a hand. It was something trying to climb free, something that should never leave the dark. And still, it spoke his name, not as a command, as if it belonged to him. The sound of his name lingered in the air, vibrating like a bell struck too hard. The boy's chest clenched, every muscle stiffening, his body caught between running and collapsing. The woman tugged at him, her nails biting into his arm, her voice a desperate rasp. Do not look at it. But he could not obey. His eyes lifted, drawn by something stronger than fear. The shape rising from the fissure was vast, its body half-formed from smoke and fire, its limbs bending wrong, bending too far. Eyes opened across its skin, dozens of them, each one burning with pale fire, each one staring at him. His knees trembled. Every stare was a weight, pressing him down, crushing the breath from his lungs. The voices inside the chasm blended into one, a chorus of whispers and screams, and yet they all spoke his name. Not the woman's. Not anyone else's. Only his. The ground split wider, street lamps toppled, glass rained down like shards of ice. The boy felt the heat lick up his legs, the air shimmering, suffocating. Yet beneath the fire was a coldness that froze his spine. The monstrous hand struck forward again, claws tearing through stone, dragging the creature higher. The boy's ears rang, blood seeping from his nose, his body shuddering under the pressure of that impossible voice. The woman seized his face between her trembling palms, forcing his eyes to hers. Her breath came in broken bursts, her words fierce though cracked. "You are not theirs. You must resist." Her touch was warm, human, shaking but real. And for the first time he realized, whatever had risen from the ground did not just want her. It wanted him. The truth slammed into him harder than the quake beneath his feet. It wanted him. The boy's stomach twisted, his breath breaking into ragged gasps. The creature's many eyes burned brighter, and in each one he saw a reflection, his own face, pale and trembling. The chorus of voices thickened, crowding his mind until thought itself felt impossible. Every whisper promised release. Every scream demanded surrender. The woman shook him, her bracelet clinking against his skin, her voice trembling but fierce. "Do not let it take you." Her words cut through the noise, but only for a heartbeat. The ground buckled again, throwing them both to their knees. Stone shattered around them, glowing cracks racing like veins across the street. The monstrous figure dragged itself higher, shoulders of molten shadow rising above the chasm, its mouth a jagged tear across its face. From that mouth, his name thundered again. Not in rage, not in command, in welcome, as though it had been waiting for him all along. His blood ran cold. The woman clutched his arm tighter, her nails drawing thin lines of red across his skin. Her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. "You were chosen." The air grew still. Even the fire seemed to hold its breath. Chosen. The word hollowed him, echoing in his chest, heavy with a meaning he did not understand. The creature leaned closer, its many eyes unblinking, its voice filling the night. "Come back to us." The boy's body locked, his breath trapped in his throat. The words slid into him like hooks beneath the skin, tugging, pulling, demanding. His vision blurred, the world around him dissolving into smoke and fire. All that remained clear were those eyes, dozens of them, staring with unbearable hunger. The woman slapped his cheek, hard, her palms searing against his frozen skin. Her voice cut sharp through the storm. "Stay here. With me." Her desperation cracked, but her grip never loosened. The hooks inside him tugged harder, filling his head with images that were not his own. Flashes of dark caverns, rivers of ash, voices chanting his name in endless echoes. He saw himself there, walking willingly into the abyss, embraced by shadows, crowned by fire. His knees buckled, his body leaning forward toward the chasm. The woman screamed, her arms locking around his waist, pulling back with everything she had. The ground split wider, chunks of stone tumbling into the glowing depths. The creature rose higher, its mouth stretching into an impossible grin, its teeth black and endless. The voices roared louder, shaking the night, drowning even the sound of her cries. And then, one voice broke free from the rest. Clear. Familiar. It was his mother's, calling his name. From inside the abyss, his breath caught, sharp and trembling. That voice, warm, soft, unmistakable, cut through the chaos like a blade. His mother. The sound wrapped around him, gentle, soothing, carrying memories he had buried deep. Nights when she held him close, her lullabies drifting like feathers in the dark. The promise of safety, of love, of home. Tears welled in his eyes, stinging hot against the smoke. The woman's grip tightened, her voice rising, urgent, desperate. It is not her. Do not believe it. But the voice called again, closer now, tender, almost broken. My boy, come to me. His chest heaved. His body leaned forward, his muscles no longer his own. The heat of the chasm licked at his face, yet all he felt was the warmth of her arms from years long gone. The creature's grin widened, the many eyes blazing, each one filled with the reflection of him as a child. He saw himself running, laughing, reaching for her hand. The boy's lips trembled. Mother? The woman's screams split the night, raw with terror. She is dead. Her words struck like a slap of ice.
Dead.
The hook of memory twisted inside him, sweet and cruel all at once. From the abyss, the voice softened, breaking into sobs. They stole me away, but you can bring me back. The ground shook harder, the cracks widening, the monstrous hand stretching higher. His heart thrashed inside his chest, torn between the living woman clinging to him and the mother's voice calling him home. His whole body trembled, torn between two worlds. The woman's nails dug deep into his arm, grounding him in pain in reality. But the voice from the abyss, it wrapped around his heart, pulling tighter with every word. He wanted to believe. He needed to believe. The firelight around the chasm dimmed, swallowed by the glow rising from below. Shadows writhed along the edges, forming shapes, faces, each one familiar, each one a memory he had long buried. Neighbors, friends, his mother's smile, all staring at him, all reaching. The woman yanked him back, her breath sharp in his ear. It is a lie. Do you hear me? A lie. But the chorus below answered her with laughter. Not cruel, not mocking, joyful, as if a family long lost had finally found their missing child. His chest ached, his ribs tightening as though his own heart tried to break free and fall into their hands. The great creature leaned closer, its many eyes narrowing, its voice now silk and fire. She waits for you. She has always waited. The fissure glowed brighter, and within its depths he saw her.
Clear as daylight.
His mother's face. Her arms outstretched. Tears rolled down his cheeks, burning hot trails through the ash on his skin. His legs moved without thought, one step toward the edge. The woman screamed, clinging to him with all her strength, her voice shattering against the roar. If you go down there, you will never come back. The boy froze at the edge, the abyss glowing beneath his feet. The voices rose, swirling like a storm, promising love, promising reunion, promising everything he had ever lost. His mother's face shone brighter, arms still reaching, her lips shaping his name with unbearable tenderness. For a heartbeat, the pull was absolute. Then the woman's hand struck his chest. Not to push, to hold. Her eyes met his, fierce and human, trembling yet unbroken. You are alive, she whispered, her voice raw, almost breaking. Stay with the living. The words pierced deeper than the voices below. His heart clenched. He saw her, not his mother's shadow, not the faces in the dark, but this stranger who had begged him to fight. The weight of her hand, the warmth of her grip, the proof that he was still here. His jaw tightened, tears falling fast, but he tore his gaze from the abyss. The ground shuddered violently, the chasm erupting in a final roar of fury. The creature's eyes blazed, its maw opening in a scream that rattled the sky. The boy dragged the woman backward, away from the fissure, step by step, against the quake, against the pull. The pavement split behind them, swallowing the black car whole, swallowing the shadows, swallowing the mother's voice until it was gone. Then silence. The fissure sealed shut with a thunderous crack, leaving only broken stone and smoke rising into the cold night. The boy collapsed to his knees, shaking, lungs burning with every breath. The woman knelt beside him, her hand still gripping his arm, as if to remind him that he had not been taken. He stared at the ground where the abyss had been, his heart hollow, torn, aching with loss and relief at once. The night around them was empty again. But he knew it was not gone. It had seen him. It had called his name. And it would wait.